So you said feminists or the feminist movement is lying to the world.
Mm-hmm.
In which way?
100%. So many ways. We can start off with sexual liberation. I feel like that's the biggest lie that women are sold, is that just because you can, you should. You should do things out of pleasure. Those are all lies that the feminist movement tells you. And I think that's actually very contrasting, because at the same time, women are out like being told that you
like
should.
There's cause and effect is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's cause and effect. Like, sure, you can be a woman and you can go out there and sleep with a lot of people because you can, and you can do it for pleasure, and you can do whatever you want because it makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the other side, the swing of things, now men are not going to be as attracted to you, is in the wife sense. A lot of men will not want to wife you up because you have a very high body count and you're very promiscuous.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there's a lot of cause and effects to these things that they're being sold. And I think beyond sexual liberation, I think it's the lie that you shouldn't be feminine, that women actually, the feminist movement is telling you that you should be masculine, not feminine.
Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting
Quite
because
often.
it's called the feminist movement, but you shouldn't be feminine.
Isn't that interesting?
Why is the feminist movement telling you that you should be actually masculine?
So maybe it's not a feminist movement.
No, it's completely something else.
Okay.
It's just, the government.
You need to find a different name for it. It's some type of cult, it sounds like, if
it's
that's
a cult.
the case.
The government does a very good job at packaging things up, and they know how to market to their customers, right? And that's exactly what they did to this.
Yes.
They get so many benefits out of it. By encouraging women to go out there and have a high body count and act like a man, they know that they're not going to get married, and that means they will have more incomes to tax.
Wow.
Right? Because if you get married, you have kids, they no longer have income, the two household income tax.
Okay.
So when they do this, they are securing that bread, I guess is what they would call it. They're securing the bread. But it's because they're
securing the tax from the single person, because now you don't have
they're not going to get married.
They're not going to get married.
Yeah.
So the husband's not going to be the only one who works. Now you have the guy she would have been with, maybe there's someone else, or he stays single too.
Yeah, two separate households. These women are out there ruining their pair bonding. It's going to be really hard for them to ever get married if they have a very high body count, and that's a fact. And that's not to scare people. It's not to shame people, but that's actually science. When you have sex with so many people and it means nothing, it loses its meaning, and you're actually rewiring your brain.
Right. What does a person do? What does a girl do? You meet a girl and she's 28 years old and she's like, I've been with 40, 50 guys. Yeah. What is your advice in that? Not saying that you're a therapist, not saying that you're a pastor, not saying that you're, not put that kind of pressure, but just be in a real life situation. What is the answer for that girl? Because there's so many girls out there, and most people, they only come with it, and on this show, like for instance, I don't want to just say what we're against, but I want to say what we're for and help people, encourage people, and, lead towards abundance mindset. So how could you get them, what advice would you give them to say, hey, here's what you can do? Is there any research that you've come across that says, here's the route you can go, and maybe you have this amount of chance of having success in the dating pool?
So I think if you are a woman, let's say in your late 20s, and you have a high body count, you can't change your past, but you can change your present and your future. And I would say to focus on that. You can obviously repent, but you have to accept that is your past, and you have to change from it. I think a lot of people know where they have failed in life or where they have made mistakes, but they don't learn from it, and they don't take that to change their future. So I think if you can change your actions and the way that your behavior, that's a really big thing, right? It starts with changing your behavior right now. If that is not who you want to be anymore, and you want to change what your lifestyle is going to look like, and you're not going to participate in hookup culture, you need to behave like you're not going to participate in hookup culture. And I think the easiest way is getting yourself out of those situations.
Changing your friends.
Change your friend group. Yeah. Don't go out drinking all the time. Don't put yourself in places where that hookup culture lives and breathes. So take yourself out of that environment. Live like the person that you want to be. Change your actions today. Change your actions tomorrow. And you can't change yesterday. Right. And I think it's not to say that no one's going to want to marry you, because I think that if you are actually you know, you've
changed. A reformed person.
Yeah, if you're a reformed person and you've used that to change yourself, you need to find someone that's going to forgive you for your past and accept who you are.
Right.
Like we've talked about this before on my podcast. I think that's really important. And you can find that.
Yes.
But but you have to understand not everyone is going to accept that.
And you can't demand it.
You can't demand it, and you can't shame someone for not wanting to accept your past, but you're going to have to find someone that's willing to forgive you.
Right.
And I think that you can change from that though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The thing about when you date anyone like that, I know that a lot of guys worry about the idea that, well, why do I have to get these second-hand leftovers, right? It's like they see this person as used, or they see this person as damaged because there's so much trauma sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times, when someone has been this promiscuous and they have, maybe they did have a father, or maybe they didn't have a father. A lot of cases, they don't have a father and they come from a broken home in many ways. And I think the hardest part is not just the knowing, and a lot of women, I've seen these videos and they're like, well, why do guys care? And it's like, it is in our DNA. We can't explain it. We just know it vexes us.
Yeah.
We can't explain it. It's something primal. It's something deep into our DNA. And it's across, and it's not just even religious. Like people will think it's like, oh, well, maybe it's from a religious point, or maybe it's how you're raised. It's like,
men like innocent women.
Facts.
That's attractive.
Yes.
And it's,
and we like dangerous women too, which is funny because it's both, but it's like, we like to have fun with the dangerous women.
Lust.
We don't want to settle.
That's the difference between lust and love.
Yes. Big difference. The big difference. Yeah. Because every guy has lust. Every woman has lust.
Yeah.
But it's a big difference between when you go from infatuation to commitment.
Have you heard of HOMAth?
HOMAth?
Yeah, HOMAth.
Oh God, no.
So it's this YouTube channel, and he kind of breaks down what puts you in the wife zone for a man. So it's really just finding a kind person that has the feminine traits and that he's attracted to you. What puts you in the sleeper zone, which is basically it's lust and he wants nothing more, is when he sees you with a lot of male attention and that he knows you're very promiscuous. Either of those two things, he sees that, he's no longer interested in you. And that's a fine line. Like, men don't recover from that.
No.
Like, for girls, it's different. If a guy has the bad boy tendencies, it's attractive to a girl because we're very different.
Yeah.
But when a man knows that a woman gets a lot of male attention, he's no longer interested in marrying her because he wants sweet and kind, and he wants just someone that he's compatible with.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, it's like, I think there's also a thing about the competitiveness. It's like, I'm very competitive, but I don't want to be challenged with someone in your DMs every single week. And first off, what are you doing that they're in your DMs every single week?
Yeah, it's like women should be loyal. It's like a very feminine trait to be loyal and submissive to a man. As much as a lot of people don't want to hear that, obviously partners need to submit to each other, but even more so, women need to submit to man. And unfortunately, that's just how it is.
I feel like the thing you just said goes over a lot of people's heads. And I don't want anyone to miss that. In a committed relationship, there is submission to both. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I think especially in a marriage, but if you're in a serious relationship, I think it's give and take, right? Like, that's what submission is.
Right.
If you want to break it down in just easy terms, it's giving and taking. How are you going to compromise with your partner? And I think it comes down to the level of respect. Like, I respect you enough. If you are going to ask me to not go out with my friends to a club, I will submit to you, because this is my level of respect in a relationship. And I think people get that confused, like, oh, submission, what is this? What kind of relationship are you in? And like, no, that's a normal thing.
They hear it as control.
You
They're
submit
like, slave.
you submit to your manager every day to do your work, don't you? What is wrong with submitting to the person that you love?
Right.
That's kind of crazy that people will submit to their work every day. You know, they'll fulfill their tasks within their company and their boss, etc. But they won't do it to the person that they love, which is ultimately better than anything.
It's so interesting you said that. So one time, me and my girl had this conversation, and I said, listen, I hear the voice that you give everybody at your job. I want some of that.
Yeah.
You're so sweet to them. You're so kind to them. I said, I'm not going to like be in the other room hearing you be kind, and then I get what's left over. And so we had to like really have a come to Jesus moment, because I do believe that I saw this video of this business owner, and he was in Atlanta with his wife, and she would always get dolled up to go to her W-2. And then she would be at home, forgive my language, but she looked like a rag doll. And he's like, he's like, you're going to work and you're getting all dressed up. And she worked with this high, big baller type guy. And he's like, you're basically getting dressed up for him because it's his company. And you're walking around the house like this. And when they had the conversation, she didn't even see it like that. And when they did, she flipped the script. And then now they have their own business together. But the point, what the point was though, is that sometimes we do that. We respect people who really could care less about us. Like your job can fire you at any moment. Like if you die on your job, HR is finding a replacement the same day, like the same day. But we won't have that same respect within our households. I also think it's interesting, your point about a couple needing to understand that that there is a give and take. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And it's not going to always be the case. Sometimes it'll feel like, man, we're just listening to Peyton the whole time in this relationship. It's like, well, Peyton's on it right now. And yeah, she's keeping us maybe out of debt, or maybe she's keeping us on the health train, and maybe she's keeping us consistent with our workout goals, whatever it is in that relationship. But understanding that it doesn't mean that you're devalued because you're following the other person. In today's modern world, if you're following someone,
100%.
We haven't taught people how to serve anymore.
Yeah. And it's because we are really shifting towards this individualistic society.
Yeah.
Like you said, like no one's putting anyone above themselves anymore.
Right.
And I think that's the best way we learn servitude. We lost the meaning of that. It used to be a lot of people were Christian. Like 100 years ago, everyone had this religion that they were serving. They had someone that they put before themselves. And now it's me first. It's self-love. I come before anyone else. Why should I have to do anything for you? I'm not going to settle in a relationship. And submission is not settling. I think that's a really fine line too, that, you hear girls on TikTok saying, you don't need him, break up with him, leave him. And just like, they're like, everyone thinks all these girls hype each other up and they're like, you're the best. Like, no, you're not the best. And sometimes you do need to, it's not settling, but submission's very, very different. And submission is when you really love someone, you want to make that work and you're going to do things that make sense for your relationship.
Is settling then, if that's what submission is settling basically like, okay, I'm running out of time. I just need to marry somebody.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I think you see that a lot too.
I just want the status of marriage.
Yeah. It's not that settling. I feel like is when you meet someone and you don't want them, but you want the image that you get when you're with them, right? Like you like what people see you as a married couple, maybe. For some people, they settle because they want that image. They want to look like something else to everyone else.
Got it.
And like, to me, that is settling. Or like you get a job because it's comfy.
To me, that's sad, but okay.
Yeah. It is also sad. Or like you take a job because it's comfy and it looks good and it looks stable to everyone else, but deep down you're unhappy. That's settling.
Okay. I like that. You are a very ambitious woman and you have a strong backbone, and I love that. Do you find it hard being in your feminine, being as ambitious with your goals?
So being feminine and ambitious, you're asking? So I've struggled with this in the past, like how ambitious can I be? And when is it too much? When is it a turnoff to men? Because I feel like I have seen, I don't know if it's just a contrast, like a correlation or just causation, but I think it's a little hard to be really ambitious and be feminine at the same time. Like if I go on dates, I try not to tell them too much about my career because I think it is a little scary to other people that maybe are not as ambitious.
Or maybe who's not out in the camera. Like a lot of guys are shy, camera shy.
Yeah.
So is it that they're not as ambitious, or the fact that you're in front of the camera scares them?
I think it could be a little bit of both.
Okay.
I have experienced, like, especially, I never used to be really in front of the camera. It was just an RSS feed up until last year. Okay. Like then it started to be on YouTube and more in front of the camera. And, I think I have experienced feeling some of that in my dating life, but at the same time, we've talked about, you have to find someone that's going to love and accept you for you. Yeah. And I think that's just part of the package deal. It's part of the dream. If you like the dream, you like the vision, you like me, there's things that you have to submit to. And it's me and my career. But I think even more so now, I feel like I'm the most feminine I've ever been. And I'm very single. I'm kind of just doing me right now. But at the same time, I feel like I've grown so much in my career, but I feel like I'm actually like the most feminine I've ever been, even though I feel like it's kind of like contrasting, like, you know, I'm doing everything on my own, but at the same time, like, I feel like I'm like at the height of my feminine energy.
And when you say that, I think you mean like, you are not trying to be anything, force anything. You're just like, you're in your body. You're in yourself.
Yeah.
You're pretty. You're dressed up. I mean, I saw you on social media. You're like, it's glove season.
Oh, it's the silk gloves.